Shabbos to everybody. First, the Birchas Kohanim, Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe Lemor, Daber Laram V'Albanav Lemor, Kesevarochu Es B'nei Yisrael Amar Lahem, Yivarechecha Adonai V'Yishmerecha, Yoed Adonai Pana V'Elecha V'Chuneka, Yisa Adonai Pana V'Elecha V'Yosem L'cha Shalom, Samu Shemi Al B'nei Yisrael V'Ani Avorachem. A few quick announcements. First of all, our outdoor shul is open this Shabbos. We'll have services tonight at 7 p.m. Services tomorrow morning will be at 9 a.m. It's an hour earlier than regular. There will be also services for Mincha tomorrow afternoon for men at 7 o'clock. We have also a Kiddush in the box that will serve after davening is over tomorrow. I want to thank the sponsors. They're sponsoring. The sermon is in honor of these four sponsors. We have Gil Epstein is sponsoring in the memory of his mother's yahrzeit. B. and Shell Greenberg, this is in the memory of the yahrzeit, in honor of the yahrzeit of B's father Shmuel David ben Mordechai Usher and Shell's father Reuven ben Yosef. Also by the Sosha family, this is in honor of Gina's birthday. Happy birthday. And it's also Ron Stackler's birthday today. A happy birthday to Ron. So we thank you very much. Sometime during this upcoming week, and I'll be sending out emails and text messages, I'm going to hold a town hall meeting. And the purpose of this meeting is to discuss the upcoming high holidays. We did send out a survey, very, very surprising, positive, surprising as to how many people actually took the survey. Well over 200 people participated in responding, which is a very nice number to see people giving me their feedback. And so I will discuss the feedback that we've gotten, current guidelines, and what our plans are. We are going to put together a very comprehensive plan for the high holidays that everyone, whether you're going out of your house, you're not going out of your house, everyone will have something for them for the high holidays. We're not going to leave anybody out. So sometime again during the week, I'll send out a message and hope to have all of you join together on the Zoom so that I can give you all these updates. The portion of Eschana, it is a powerful portion. I know you always hear me starting off saying this week's portion, a very powerful portion, and they all are. This week's portion, that's really a powerful portion. I mean, you have in this portion, obviously, the continuation of Moses' speech as he is saying his farewell to the Jewish people. He repeats the 10 commandments are in this week's portion. And also the most famous of all prayers, the Shema Yisrael. And the first paragraph of the Shema comes from this week's portion, from the portion of the Eschana. And in this portion, Moshe literally pleads, early on in the portion, he says, V'ata Yisrael, and now Jewish people. It's like this opening expression similar to saying, my dear fellow Jews, can we have an honest talk? Can we have a straight talk? And he opens with that word vi'ata, and now is the time for us to have this talk. Now that we've experienced these past 40 years together, now that we hold at the end of an era and at the beginning of a new era, now that it has been cleared to you that obedience to the will of God is the one sole and indispensable condition for the security and happiness of your future. And although I won't be with you, you have in your hands the secret to your success, the secret to your happiness, the secret to your purpose and to your mission. And he uses that word that he'll use again at the end of the portion in the Shema Yisrael prayer, but he'll start off in the beginning of the portion again, the Ata Yisrael, he'll say Shema. He uses that word Shema. What does this word Shema mean? And everyone will look at the English translation in the prayer book, hear, O Israel. But Shema is more powerful than hear. Shema is internalized. It's not just hearing. I remember my father, the blessed memory, gave a sermon in the Agura Shul once. And he always, my father, when he gave his sermons, mixed Yiddish and English together. It was his own language. He thought he was speaking English, but I would say 60% was in Yiddish, and then he would get back into English. But he once explained that in Yiddish, there are two different words that are used to describe the act of listening. And for those that are familiar with Yiddish, you may have heard these expressions. There is the word suherin, suherin. And then there's the word suderherin. They sound very similar, but they're different. I'll give you in the Hebrew, you have the word laha'azin and the word lishmoa. Lishmoa comes from that same word of Shema. What's the difference? Suherin, lahazin, means to hear. Simply refers to the mechanism of sound waves reaching the eardrums. You hear sounds, you hear noises, you're hearing it. But when I say zu der Herren, or I use the word Shema, it means not only is the ear hearing the sounds and hearing the noises, but it's affecting my mind as well. The mind is focusing. The mind is thinking about the words. It's not just the mechanism that the eardrum is hearing sound. No, the eardrum is hearing sound, and my mind is internalizing that which my ear is listening to and making it part of my life. I am internalizing the message. I'm making a resolution to act upon what's being said. That what's being said is not going, as we use the expression, in one ear and out the other, but it's part of me. Shema, Shema Yisrael, internalize, make it part of you. His mom was once sitting on the couch in the living room and she's reading a newspaper. And the little daughter comes up to her and starts talking to her. And she's trying to tell her something. And the kid keeps carrying on, and you're listening with a half an ear because you're reading a magazine, you're reading a book, you're reading a paper, or you're playing with your smartphone. And every once in a while, you throw through a few words your child's way. Yeah, that's wonderful, sweetie. Oh, I'm so proud of you, sweetie. Oh, that's wonderful. And the child keeps on going. And finally, the child in frustration says, but mommy, you're not listening. And we tend to always respond with, I'm listening to every word you're saying. And the child says, yes, but mommy, you're not listening with your eyes. See, the child understands the difference between herin and der herin, listening or internalizing. You may be listening to every word I say, but you're not internalizing. Because if you were internalizing, you would be making eye contact with me. You're not listening with your eyes. And that's the point. To listen with your eyes means that the person talking to you knows that you are there, that you are truly, genuinely interested in what he or she has to say. And that they can see in your eyes. Is there attentiveness in the eyes? Do you really care? Any two people having a conversation, one knows when the other one's eyes start looking elsewhere, they're not really listening. They're listening, but they're not really listening. When there's eye contact, you can tell when the person is really listening. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. It's the most fundamental of all prayers. And the translation of Hear, O Israel, misses the point. Because it's not Hear, O Israel. Shema is more internalize it, personalize it. Listen, O Israel, make it part of you that the Lord our God, that the Lord is one. You see, Shema Yisrael means that as Jews, we have to know what to tune in and what to tune out. We have to tune in Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. We tune in the voices that beckon us to a higher place in life, that call upon us to learn more, to connect more to our Jewish heritage, to connect more to our history, to connect more to our destiny, to tune into the voices of our family, to tune into the calls and the cries of fellow human beings who need your caring, who need your compassion, who need your help, to tune in to opportunities of spirituality, of goodness, and of kindness. Shema Yisrael, make that part of who you are, make that part of your identity. But it also means to learn to tune out some of the other noise. We have to tune out the distractions. We have to tune out what we would call the mishigasin, the craziness that takes away our mind, that takes away our brain cells, it takes away our thinking process, and it distracts us into worlds that we really don't need to be there at. Modern example. Social media is a wonderful tool. It's a wonderful tool of communication for the ability to teach. It has within it the potential of spirituality. Believe it or not, the ability that a person can teach anyone in the world from any place that they are, that anyone in the world can study what the internet and social media has given us as tools of education is phenomenal. It's historic. I put out an email today, I don't know if for those of you that have seen it, but in the last few months, the classes of our academy has all gone online. It's all gone through social media. And then JLI has asked if my lectures could be put onto Facebook Live on their medium. And obviously, sure, if we have a chance, more than just a guru could study with us, could listen to our sermons, by all means. But it's amazing to see how quickly the numbers are staggering. Yesterday, this JLI organization put a lecture that I gave on their on their Facebook Live page. And within 24 hours, 18,000 views. 18,000 views in a matter of a day. That's the power of social media. There is a powerful tool that we have in our hands that we're able to get our message out. But at the same time, Shema Yisrael, focus on the positive, but tune out the mishigasin. You can get so carried away in social media. There is so much hate there. There is so much politics there. There is so much viciousness there. There's so much gossip there. There's so much ripping people to shreds. You say one word that someone doesn't like, and my goodness, within 2 minutes, there's 100 comments that you are the world's worst person in the world. We have to learn to stay away from things that we have no business internalizing. It's not for us. It really shouldn't be for anyone. Definitely not for our children. Shema Yisrael, that which is going to bring us closer to one another, not further apart, not distract us, not make us hate one another. If we would only use these tools to come together, to learn to care, to love, and we can debate, but we can debate civilly instead of focusing on all the hate. Shema Yisrael, we're Jews. For us, the art of listening should be more than just an art. It should be the core of what we're all about. So Moshe challenges us in this week's portion, in the portion of Eschanan, with the word Shema. He uses the words Asher Anoichi Melamed Eschem throughout the book of Deuteronomy. Moses will constantly use the phrase Melamed. You've heard of what a Melamed is. Melamed was a teacher. Moshe was teaching. He wasn't just transmitting a writing. He wasn't an author that was giving them a book. Hey, before I leave, let me give you an autographed copy of my newest book. That's not what the Torah was about. It wasn't about passing along a document. It was teaching. It was about classes. It was about study groups. Yes, there is a written document. Yes, there is a written Torah. But without the classes, without the oral transmission, without the workshops, you have a book without much meaning. And Moshe references that. He references that you have been given an oral Torah to accommodate and to come along with a written Torah. Because the Torah will go ahead and say, put a mezuzah on your door. Without the oral Torah telling you what a mezuzah is, you have no idea from the written text what you're supposed to put up on your door. The Torah tells you to put tefillin on your arm and on your head. And if you were left just with the written Torah, if it was just a book that Moses left us, what exactly does that mean from the text? You have no idea. You should put a sign on your arm and a sign between your eyes. Where? What? What is it made of? What should it say? How should it look? Nothing in the text of the Torah will tell you that. Moses says that in order for an animal to be kosher, it has to have certain signs, and then it needs to be slaughtered in the manner that I taught you. But the Torah itself does not tell us what Moses taught us. It says, in the manner that I taught you. Without there being an oral transmission of the written Torah, it's an empty book. And onwards I can go, the laws of Shabbat, all of this. Moses says, Melame, because Torah teaching, it's about discussion, it's about explaining, it's about an oral transmission. And then Moses will say in this week's portion, he'll say, Laman tichyu, I present this to you, all of these laws, so that you shall live. You shall live with them. And the Talmud has this interesting teaching, and it says you shall live with them and not die with them. What does the Talmud mean? The significance of this teaching of the Talmud can't be underestimated. You see, for many religions, even modern day religions, God and religion equals a fascination and perhaps an obsession with death. Many religions focus so much on death, on dying, on what comes after death. Islamist killers blow themselves up. What do they declare? Allah Akbar, God is great. For them, God is found in death. To die a martyr while killing the infidels is a sacred goal. They're going right to heaven, at least in their warped thinking. This isn't new. It's not just modern day faiths. Egyptian civilization was steeped in death. Its Bible was the book of the dead. Its greatest monuments, its very symbols, are the pyramids. What were the pyramids? These were these gigantic tombs. One of the Torah's first tasks was to destroy the connection between civilization, religion, and death. That faith and religion and spirituality and God is not about death and dying. Judaism has always affirmed a belief in an afterlife. The soul never dies. So it believes in an afterlife, but the preoccupation of Judaism has been about this world, about making this world a better place. And that's why the 5 books of Moses in its text is rather silent on the afterlife. We find God in life. God is life. You shall live by the mitzvot, not die through the mitzvot. If your religion creates a culture of death, you've lost your way. Terror in the name of God is a desecration of the name of God. What is more, these words, Laman Tichyu, tells us, the words Laman Tichyu means so that you shall live, that every single mitzvah is somehow here to enhance life, to celebrate life, to enrich, to expand, to deepen life. The mitzvah is here to make us live, not to make us die. Judaism is the divine blueprint to live life to its fullest, to get drunk on life, to say l'chaim on life itself. But there's more to this teaching. This verse, and you shall live by them, the Talmud cites as proof that one's allowed to violate the Shabbat to save a life. Because to live by them, the mitzvot are here for you to live, not to die by them. So if it came that you needed to violate the Shabbat in order to save life, you violate the Shabbat because you need to save life. If a mitzvah might cause death, even if it's the slightest chance that it might, God doesn't want the mitzvah. Thus is the rule in Jewish law. We violate every mitzvah in order to save life. So the high priest himself, the Kohen Gadol, may be standing in the Holy of Holies on the most sacred day of the year on Yom Kippur, and he's in communion with the divine. And if he hears that there's an infant in danger, he throws everything away. He runs out of the sacred space, and he goes to try to save the baby, because we save life. I want you to take a moment and think this way with me. What was the greatest project ever undertaken? It would be the building, the creating of the cosmos. After all, that is the mother of any project. You can't get bigger than that. Our observable universe is a sphere around 92 billion light years. We know of roughly a tillion, that's 1 followed by 24 zeros. That's how many planets there are in the universe. And that's just what we know. Here's the interesting thing. The Torah teaches that there's something even greater than the universe. What is it? You see, in the beginning of the book of Genesis, the Torah will devote 31 verses to describe how God created the entire world. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then it'll tell us 31 verses 31 verses, how God created everything, including all of the cosmos, all of the planets, the Milky Way and them all, the sun, the moon, the stars, earth. 31 verses, God describes all of creation. Then somewhere in the Torah, the book of Exodus, towards the end of the book of Exodus, God will describe the construction, the building of the tabernacle, the Mishkan in the desert, the temporary sanctuary. That's why I call our new shul in our parking lot the Mishkan. It's a temporary dwelling in our desert. How many verses will the Torah use to describe this temporary tabernacle? Remember, 31 verses to describe all of the creation of the world. And he comes to describe the tabernacle. The answer is 371 verses. 371 verses. Now, these seem so strange. The universe spans some 176 trillion billion miles. It's this awesome complex structure. After millennia of research, we haven't scratched the surface of its untold depth and unbound mysteries. We haven't mastered the secrets embedded in a single cell. The tabernacle, on the other hand, was 150 feet long and 75 feet wide. Now, it was a very impressive structure, but it was essentially a tent. It was a mini mobile shtibel. It was a little shul. A very nice shul, but it was a little shul. 100 feet by 75 feet is not so massive, right? 371 verses. Why would the Torah be so expansive about the creation of a humble, splendorous tent in the desert, and yet so quick about the creation of the cosmos with all of its infinite depth and grandeur? Does it make any sense? The answer is that the universe is the home that God makes for man. The sanctuary was the home that man makes for God. It might be smaller and simpler, but it's so much more significant and so much more prominent. In the words of the Medrash concerning the universe, the Torah says, "My hand founded earth." Whereas with the Holy Temple, the Torah says, "Your hands," plural, established God's temple. Not one hand, but two hands. The universe was created, so to speak, with a single hand, the temple with both hands. So we can know how powerful, how important us building a house for God is. And yet, there is something that's even greater than the sanctuary, greater than the tabernacle. Even the construction of the sanctuary had to be suspended for this reality. What was that that's even more important than the tabernacle, which the Torah tells us in 371 verses? The answer to that question is the Shabbat, Shabbos. Even to construct the sanctuary, you weren't allowed to desecrate the Shabbos because the sanctity and the preciousness of Shabbos was greater than the sanctity of the sanctuary. And the holiness of the sanctuary was greater than the holiness of the whole universe. This tells us something about the infinite greatness of Shabbos, for even the sanctuary, which serves as a home for God on earth, is not as holy as Shabbat, this day of rest, which transcends the entire creation, the entire universe. Even God's home in our world, Shabbos, takes precedent. Shabbos is a day of intimacy with the divine beyond the world with God himself. But wait, there's something even holier than Shabbat. And for that, even Shabbat itself needs to be shattered. And what is that? You. The Shabbat can be violated to save a single life. Even if there exists only a small percent, less than 1%, a fraction of 1% chance that a life might be saved. Not only saved, that a life might be extended just for a minute. A tiny percentage of a chance, and we're only talking about a small extension. You violate the Shabbat. All the laws of Shabbat must be broken, not may be broken, must be broken. For the sanctity of life and the sanctity of each individual, the sanctity of you, the holiness that's within each and every single one of you, the holiness within your soul that transcends through your entire body, your entire being, that trumps even the sanctity of Shabbat, which trumps even the sanctity of the temple, which trumps even the sanctity of all of creation, the origin of all existence. That's what Moshe is saying to us. That's what Moshe is pleading with us. Do you understand your own holiness? Shema Yisrael, listen to me. Listen to the holiness that you have and treat every single moment of life with that holiness. Focus what to tune in and what to tune out. I want to wish you all a very good Shabbos. It should be a safe Shabbos, a happy Shabbos, a good Shabbos. This Shabbos has a special name. It's called Shabbos Nachamu. Nachamu means comfort. The Haftorah goes ahead and says, Nachamu, Nachamu, that God comes along on this Shabbat and he gives us comfort. It's the Shabbos that comes right after Tisha B'Av. We can sure use the comfort. Every year, the Shabbos after Tisha B'Av, we can use that comfort. How much more so this year, when for months and months now we've been having our own Tisha B'Avs, that we can sure use the comfort by God. And the ultimate comfort by God would be step one, God, to please remove from this world this virus that has been destroying so many lives and making lives so difficult for so many. And then step two, God, the ultimate Nachamu, bring Mashiach, bring the Geula, bring the redemption, bring an end to all illness, an end to all suffering, an end to all hate, so that we usher in an era of love and peace and harmony and spirituality and godliness. Shabbat Shalom to all.